and I've been thinking for the longest time, let's just go live for 5 minutes every day. Initially, I thought, let's do it as a reward. Like, if I wake up super early, it's kind of like a daily, like, oh, by the way, I love this mug. How cool is it? It's actually from AliExpress. And it's pretty expensive compared to other things, but I love it. I love it so much. It comes with its little. This is not meant to be an ad for AliExpress, but here we go. We're rolling with it. Is it kind of like improv? I don't know, but this is cute. There we go. Wanted to do this. I think if I think it's gonna be like 365, it's one of the. I was just watching a lot of videos of like long distance running, just like over 200 miles, and I thought that takes a sheer amount of willpower to just power through all the pain that you feel. And I thought, well, I have been putting this off for a really long time, thinking of all the things that could go wrong. Easiest way to put yourself off from doing something, right? But I just wanted to share the journey of creating this TV series or series in general because I created this 48-page business plan. I'm whole yeah, this is for like the the production company that I set up some time ago. I got even a cap. Um the Lulu, is this a Lulu? Um, but I think that's important. Like Bill Gates, I remember saying, he was like, I'm really optimistic. And yeah, for anybody that's starting something, an entrepreneur of any kind, a degree of optimism is absolutely required. Otherwise, you wouldn't even start in the first place. And doing something entrepreneurial is absolutely not for everybody, nor should it be like imposed upon somebody. Like I remember hearing like that some people were saying like, oh, I can't believe this person has a 9 to 5, and it's like, I think that's great. You have to stick with what works for you, and like you can only define success for yourself. And some people find that success is relationships and like really strengthen that part. Gosh, you can see absolutely all the mess behind me. There we go. Can't get more real than that, but I also don't want to focus on that. So maybe we can. You can still see it. That's life. That's reality, right there. I guess organization can also be a reality. Okay, everywhere you look. Yes, we've just moved to a new place and it's messy, but no excuse. I could have cleaned it. Anyway, point is, we're halfway there, and the what I wanted to get to was my story uh, because it inspires part of the series. So I had depression and anxiety for 10 plus years, and I had a phobia since I was 5. And the funny thing with phobias is that you create a whole story around it to kind of try to make sense of it because phobias are just live outside of logic. Like, and also kind of mental health. Like, you could be having like, oh, is this still on? Yeah, it is still on. Yeah, you could be having like a wonderful day. Like, it's sunny. Logically, you're thinking, like, my family's still together and alive, or I have a roof over my head, I have food in the kitchen, and I'm studying or whatever, and like you have all these things that society tells you you should be happy if you have all of these things, and yet why can I not be happy? And then you find other ways to put yourself down because yeah, like if when I had bad mental health, it's like you can literally be negative about anything. It's a wonderful challenge. Just think about the most beautiful thing. There is always a way to be negative about something. So we have this immense power over our reality because primary reality is within. Like I have a beautiful small dog, and yet there are people who are terrified of him. And I absolutely respect that. That's that's horrible because like the fear is absolutely real. Like the primary reality is like they don't see obviously the small beautiful dog, but they see actually a threat. So they see the dog, but they see the possibility of danger and threat. Same of like someone scared of going into open water. It might be a beautiful idyllic beach scenario, but for them it's like a possibility of drowning, a possibility of eaten by a, you know what I mean. So yeah, so I had tried so many forms of therapy, not putting any of them down. They just didn't work personally. In my case, I tried medicine, which worked for 6 months. Was on citalopram, like 20 milligrams. Not that I have to go into detail, but just to try to be relatable. Like maybe some people are like, oh, but you didn't have it as bad as I did, whatever. each person's their own universe, and let's not get into an argument over that. It's more like, yeah, it was pretty bad. I was like, I don't want to live if every single day is going to be this tough. And what I was thinking today actually was I almost forgot like how weird it was at the beginning. Like when I first started reading the book Thrive, and it was like, oh, you have to like talk nicely to yourself. I was like, excuse me? I physically felt sick. I was like, no, you're meant to be good to yourself at the finish line. You're meant to punish yourself, push so hard that you reach the, heights that you've never thought. And, how dare this book say that I have to talk to myself nicely? That's disgusting. Never, no, I'm going to be a soft person, that I'm never going to achieve anything. Obviously, there's so many things that are wrong with that, but that's how I felt back then. And then I got into the habit of being objective. It's not even being soft or anything, it's just being objective. It's like there's so many things we can be proud of. Like we'll be the first person, especially if we have, think about a really good friend of yours, and they can be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself because I applied for this test. That's amazing. Well done. I know that you've been meaning to do that for a really long time, and you actually sat down and went for it and you paid for it, and now you have your test date. That's amazing. Why are we so eager to hype someone else and not ourselves? How is it so easy to forget the most outstanding achievements? Because is it because we're always thinking about what else needs to be done? Is it because it's just a habit, perhaps? So I did become objective by sheer willpower of forcing myself to do those exercises every day. Within 2 weeks, I noticed changes, and at the beginning, those first 2 weeks, I was just blindly doing the exercising, hoping that they would work. This book. So yeah, after 10 plus years of both depression, anxiety, and also trying to find a cure about them, um, yeah, I found this book, Thrive, and 5 weeks before my dad passed away. And actually, my dad and I had similar things with mental health, and so I really wanted to help him, and I wasn't able to. And so, but I was able to save myself. So that's why this whole thing came about, because I was like, I met up online with a writer after many emails, and I was like, this is the plan. This is what we want to do. And he was like, cool. So we were both aligned in that we wanted to share these insights. He was like, I'm not doing it for the money. I genuinely just want people to know this, because like it's so, like that's the thing, like it's not revolutionary, but it is revolutionary in the way that it's been written out. I think it's so simple. Like sometimes I don't know, like I think it's a common practice I've heard from, like, sometimes certain industries make concepts sound too complicated so that the person in power sort of retains this role of like, I know what I'm talking about. You don't, therefore give me your trust and I'll manage things for you. Kind of, yeah. Um, Whereas he's doing the complete opposite. He was like, excuse me, he was saying like, I kind of did it out of rebellion. And I was like, yeah, you go. Yeah, no, it worked. It's amazing. Yeah, so especially if you have emetophobia, I cannot recommend this more. Especially after having done a whole lifetime of like, wow, clearly my brain is so unique because nobody can help me to the degree that I can actually see lasting change. And he is a tiny book. Well, no, not tiny. But a small book actually for the amount of power it holds is anyway. And yeah, and then I just believed in it, and I did the exercises really, really committedly, because obviously my dad was dying, and I was in pre-production for a short film, and kind of the stakes were high, really. And I was like, I need this to work. I need to believe that this will work. And yeah, and then yeah, and then in November I got diagnosed with ADHD. That's a huge part of the journey as well. So that's how this whole thing came about. Lastly, though, the thing I was thinking was my goal was to get this seen by the most amount of people, because of believing in the message, because it's important to share it. And if I could save myself so many years, I mean, just even if my dad had known this like 10 years before, like how would that have impacted the quality of his life? How would that have impacted our relationship? But whatever, you there's that thing of you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink or something like that. It's like same thing with mental health and personal change. It's not the same for every person. So I can say, like, by the way, I read this book that's like, I changed my life because I applied its things, but I cannot force someone else to do it, even if it's been incredibly successful for me. Kind of, each person has to vibe with their own thing. So I just want to put it out there because it's incredibly simple, and I really know that it can change a lot of people's lives. It already has. There's hundreds, I don't know, thousands, I don't know, probably hundreds of testimonials on YouTube of people that, like myself, have gone through it and changed their lives. Gosh, this is it. This is the beginning of the video. This is why I thought I wanted to make a video, is because I remember in my bedroom, on sitting on the bed at night, and I was shaking so much because I was writing down the thoughts I was running away from. And that's the thing. That is a difference in my personal lived experience between really bad mental health and good mental health is just running away from all the fear. And good mental health is just having the space, creating the space of being objective. So you write down, one of my deepest fears. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't need to be truly scary for other people. It's just what impacts you most. So I was thinking, oh, it's really scary to be a failure, especially because I had, a parent that did, well, both parents obviously amazing. One of them had achieved a lot in a very specific area, the other one and the other one. It was just really big shoes to fill. And I was comparing myself, like a teenager or actually like early 20s, with someone that was in their 70s and what they had achieved over, accumulation of all the, his life. And that's just not helpful. Any sort of comparison really is hardly helpful. And yeah, different genders, different. He was 54 when I was born, so different times, different industries, different methods of working, different brains, different places we lived in. So yeah, really not helpful to compare, but that was the difference, like running away from the negative thoughts and just knowing how much of a difference it has been from being that person before, where I was like so scared to even write those negative thoughts down. My fear was thinking I'm a failure. And the thing is, when you're so entrenched in bad mental health, it feels like it's not just a thought, it is the absolute truth. I am a failure. And then imagine if you repeat that every single day so many times. And again, as mentioned, like most people that haven't begun this journey of like really taking control and ownership of their own like thoughts and management in that area. And it's so important, especially if you then go and have kids or manage other people, because if we don't do that, and it's a constant thing, because initially I was like, oh my God, I graduated, I feel amazing, that's great. And then I realized, yeah, I feel great, but I still have to grow in other areas, like how I relate to other people. Like there might be things that I'm still not aware of that I would react to, and I'm like, wait, okay, now aware of that, I'm gonna, anyway. It's so late at night, it passed way past my bedtime. It's 11 p.m. and I should be in bed by 9:30. So I don't even know what I was talking about. That's the beauty of ADHD. Like when I'm on meds, because they only last for a few hours, I know exactly what I'm saying. I can so clearly like not even visualize. I can just like understand my logic and compartment, like just dissect this whole train of thought. And I feel so clear about it. I can do point A, B, C, one, two, three, and pull it all together and be, that's great. And then with meds, it's like, well, let's just go on this ride and see what we're going to talk about. And I don't even know if I've said this before, but yeah, I guess we can end it here. It's been 15 minutes. I said I was only going to do 5, so that's pretty encouraging. And let's see how far we go. This is day 1 of 365 of sharing the journey of the series and the importance behind it, I guess. The idea would be to connect with other Latinos around the world, share different stories about, yeah, because I think there's still a lot of cool stories about Latinos. I just saw this amazing, I was watching crime videos really, and there was this horrible crime, but this little girl was able to survive and just yeah, just the sheer power of that. She also happened to be Latino. That was just so beyond inspired. So I guess one of the last things to mention is, you know how I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring, so cute. The way that science, medicine evolved through the sheer hard work of a lot of scientists and people in the medical field. Um, the life expectancy grew, right? And with that, we can achieve a lot more things. Meaning, before people didn't know that they needed to wash their hands before operating on someone, they didn't know they had to wash their hands after going to the bathroom or before eating a meal. Now, like that, and with shots and all these different advances in the medical field, we can live longer, right? We also can be more productive. Case in point, like, I can take my medicine. I can actually do things. I can actually follow through. I can actually do a pretty amazing job and not have to suffer too much. Um, and I would compare that a parallel with this thing that we're doing with mental health, and not to aggrandize things too much, but I do see the potential of having a huge impact on society. Not just not like I'm not saying I tech personally would, but it's this concept of understanding the basic levels of mental health. The I call it mental. Take a shower. We need to do certain things to have a base level of like hygiene and health, and these mental health exercises, tools, and information found in the Thrive book, that's just my level of mental health hygiene. Thing is, I didn't even have the knowledge beforehand of what those tools were, what I needed to do. So I just didn't know. And that's why a lot of people in the past, without knowledge of the basic things of hygiene, died prematurely. So many, right? And now we have the information. We can take care of ourselves. We can decide to do it or not. But you know, and I feel like that's going to be the same thing with mental health. Like I think we're getting there. I think there's a lot of misinformation online, and at the end of the day, obviously, it has to be the thing that works for you, but it also has to be sustainable, right? It can't be a thing that when you're doing it, it feels great, and then like, I guess, I mean, I just got thinking, I was like, well, I still do the exercise of Thrive, but it's not like I just have, I guess, like a bit of a, I don't think it's cool to keep charging people to say like, oh, like you're gonna get better, but then you have to pay more to then get to and then achieve this other thing. And then it's like there's always a promise of you'll get there only if you spend this amount of money. And it's like, well, no. And what I think is phenomenal about this book is that it's, even though it's, I think it's 70 quid now, or 69 pounds. I think there's also, yeah. And when I got it, it was, and yeah, months ago before this whole inflation, so it was a bit cheaper. But even then, like a therapy session can cost the same. And actually, a therapy session can cost twice as that with a really good therapist. And so, why not invest in yourself in that way? And this is one of the questions I had. Okay, so the aim is I want to make this series as like watched by as many people as possible to have that effect where most amount of people we can reach and that this resonates with them. They can just drop all the pain, because the thing is, I had undoubtedly, in my opinion, like tons of really cool, fun, and effective ideas during those like 10 plus years of bad mental health. I did not apply them because I didn't believe in myself. I also ADHD, so it's really hard to continue. I didn't believe in the ideas, to the point that, yeah, and I just wouldn't do anything. And it was kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't take action, and then you keep just being in that same space. And so, yeah, so giving the ability, the tools, so that people can work on their self-confidence and their belief in their abilities, just means that we'll be able to add just more progress, to humanity, in my humble opinion. So that was the goal, to get it seen by the most amount of people. The question is, I thought, well, I was I was analyzing social media platforms and also mobile games. What are the things that make them super successful? Because they are So in the entertainment industry, those are the two sectors that are with the most amount of users, with the most amount of income. So I was thinking, okay, what do they do differently? And so I was looking at the different revenue streams that they have, which there are multiple. Social media platforms all mostly, I think, operate on the uh, low barrier of entry, meaning it is completely free to join this like basic experience. And then there's a freemium, for instance, with sorry, let's go back to the first one, like with the ad based revenue, that's a free one. So in essence, if you're not paying for something, you're the product, right? So let's use any social media platform that uses this model. They want to catch you, the most amount of people possible. It's free. You then watch the ads, and depending on your demographic, where you're based, what currency you use, you have a different price. So someone in a developed nation versus developing is worth more than developing for various different reasons. Their attention is, sorry. And yeah, that's how it operates. I'm sure it's very familiar to everybody, a lot of people. Then the second one would be freemium. So say for instance LinkedIn or YouTube. You'd pay to get no ads, or LinkedIn you pay to access certain features like direct messaging and stuff like that. And you'd get in mobile games, you have the games like Candy Crush, for instance, it's free, but then you can also buy to not have ads, or then you have also microtransactions. It's another revenue stream. Microtransactions could be like, say, if you're on the game, I believe Fortnite, and you have skins. Skins are cosmetic, so they don't help you advance your abilities in the game in order to like advance the game fast, like sooner, quicker, like beat more of the opponents. But they are cosmetic, and because a lot of people are spending a lot of social time online, because social life online is absolutely real, obviously. Um, it makes sense that you want to look cool. Why not? Also, I think it's nice because not everybody has like the immune system to be able to be outside, or the physical mobility to, I don't know, play sports outside, and yeah, playing inside is great because those relationships are real and powerful. So you have the microtransactions, right? That would be a skin. You also have, you can buy like a booster, for instance. You buy a bigger or more powerful sword, which allows you to kill more of your opponents. I kind of saw the parallel with the blue check that you can buy on like Instagram and I believe Facebook or Twitter, because in the past, right, it used to be for people that had achieved a certain thing on in the real world. And if you're wanting to be an influencer, and maybe you have a product or you have a book that you want to launch, if you have that blue check, you're buying a certain social status. So you I guess kind of wanting to become a reference point in that niche that you're in. So I think I would kind of make a parallel between buying a bigger sword to help you, win the game, buying that social status so that you can win more people's confidence and get them to buy either into like, your persona or your products and make more money. So that's another revenue stream. And then the microtransactions, say, or just transactions in general, say if you're on Facebook Marketplace and Instagram, you can yeah, the platform just takes a transaction of that. And TikTok also has its shop. I think what's interesting is that all these features, you also have to look at, does this make sense with the platform itself? And yeah, there's other revenue streams, and pay to play, for instance, which is pretty interesting. Like this does not exist in social media because the barrier of entry would be too high. You do have Minecraft, which is you have to pay to play. I just mentioned Minecraft because it's really popular. There's other ones like IP generation, like Angry Birds, really popular game, two films. But you can also have, I believe the game is called Skyrim, and you can listen to the soundtrack on Spotify, and therefore you can get a small, I don't know, like a revenue stream from that. There's also, aside from all these different revenue streams, which I can go into detail some other time, there's also the sticky factors. So what are social media platforms and mobile games doing? There's, well, the algorithm, the dopamine loop, the variable reward. Say, for instance, you're playing on FIFA, you get the special pack, but you don't know exactly which player you're going to get. So, actually, that expectation and that not knowing is incredibly powerful and kind of keeps you hooked up in the game. If you know exactly what you're going to get, it's not as exciting. So, a variable reward theory makes you like keep coming back. And then aesthetics, like the more beautiful something is to look at, then the more shareable it is. It's just a more pleasant experience. And ownership or customization is when, for instance, people spend a lot of time on trying to make a certain aesthetic on their Instagram or the social media profile, and because of the degree of effort and energy put into it, then they feel a sense of ownership over it. They feel like it's a creative outlet. They can really express who they are, but they also feel a sense of ownership, like, and a loyal, not loyalty, but kind of feel like, oh, I've already invested so much, I don't want to drop it. So they just spend more time there. There's also other sticky factors like socializations and gamification. So, for instance, TikTok has all these different contests, and just even having numbers of followers, that's kind of like a competition, even if you don't have an overall leaderboard. But in some games like Duolingo, I'm a big fan of Duolingo because it's social. You can compete with your friends, or you can see how they're doing. You can see how other people are doing. You have a leaderboard. This inherent human thing of like, oh wait, I'm going into the demotion, so no, I need to like keep going. So all these like little psychological tricks. And I think what the really cool thing about Duolingo is that I don't think there's anything wrong with using those tactics for an app that teaches you a tool and experience like learning a language, which can be really hard, and yet they're making it as fun as can be. And also, or I don't know, they're trying to make it fun, and they're trying to use the sticky factors the social media applications use. And I just think there's a lot more positivity in learning, yeah, in learning languages. I think that's something positive, but perhaps that's my own judgment on it. So I studied different revenue streams, and I studied the different sticky factors, and because I was wanting to see if scripted content and like this, like, if I could just uncover some clues of how to make this successful. And the plan for some time was to just offer it for free, offer this series that I'm working on YouTube for free. I thought, look, there's so many people that just don't have access to streamed content like Netflix and streaming websites, sorry. And that means they just don't even know this exists. Or maybe they do if they see some ads, but one of the key factors for success, I think, for scripted, I see like five of them. Like, well, you have to have a really amazing script. You have to have a killer like marketing PR campaign. You have to have like famous faces or really committed and spectacular talented people, and you need to have really right timing. This is super important. So we had a talk with um, Mr. Boyle. Um, anyway, and what he mentioned was just so many phenomenal, outstanding things. I'm just like blanking. I know it's a name with D. I'm just like terrible with like names. It does not mean I admire someone any less. And but what he was saying was how he wrote a film, was incredibly successful. Wrote another film he thought was going to be incredibly successful too, and it just wasn't. And he was saying, like, honestly, talent was there, the story is there, it just was not the right timing. And I was listening to a video on startups, and this guy who created over 200 startups, and he wanted to make a list of definitively what are the key factors that lead a startup to success. And he was like, well, there's five, let's see if we remember them. But he thought it was maybe the amount of money that they were able to get, because the more money you have, the more iterations you can get, the longer you can go keep testing, and more chances of success. Or maybe it's the quality of the idea. Maybe like having the best idea is what really guarantees success. Maybe it's the talent that you have, like how amazing are the people in your team, how resilient, etc. And actually, the most important one was just timing. because he invented something like YouTube. He invented something before YouTube, but the amount of people that had the level of internet required to be able to make YouTube a thing wasn't there. It was just super complicated, and less than 50% of the US had access to. Anyway, wrong timing. And only a couple years later than YouTube surfaced, and it was great timing. Not to say that all is timing, of course, but yeah, that was his conclusion. So plan was to put it on for free on YouTube because there's a lot of people here, and also on other platforms that are free. Just to get them the most amount of people, again, work on having the best script as possible, having the most amazing talent that we can get that resonate with this kind of project. Um, just covering all the bases. But then also when you're going into business, there and this is the area that I need to learn more and understand more. But sometimes um, people are saying like, well, if you don't put a really good price on your product, it kind of can devalue it. And some people will just love paying a little bit more to know that they're getting like quote unquote like a good product. I don't know, it's debatable, but the plan was to put it for free online to get the most amount of people around the world to watch it, to dub it into the most popular languages again for accessibility, because duh, not everybody speaks English. And the other option is to work with streamer broadcaster and then do podcast covering the topics of the series, not just as a ploy to get people to watch the series, although that's great if people want to do that. It's also because we want to cover the important elements within it, and then that level of education can still be for free. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Let me know if you find whether the sticky factors or the different revenue streams. I can also cover that. There's so much interesting stuff going on. Now I will go because I said I would only talk for 5 minutes, but here we go. Sometimes, especially when I don't leave my house because I'm working from home, that I know it's not good for my mental health, but I also get into this habit of not being able to stop talking out of like not having talked that much in general. And if I'm out all day meeting with people, then I'm kind of like chilling. So I will have a full day tomorrow, which is very exciting. I'm helping um, a couple of second years film their pilot for their reality TV show, which I'm very excited about and learning so much. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity, even though at the beginning I was so scared because I was like, why did I say yes? I just do not have the time. But sometimes I interviewed this person who said it was her year of yes, and she had such good mental health. And yeah, sometimes it is about saying yes. And like, honestly, I'm only here at the National Film and Television School for 2 years now. It's only a year and a half left. And I gotta take the opportunities, honestly. Like, it's so exciting. Some people don't like. I'm really pleased of going to the school. And the because isn't like, honestly, it's the people. I think it's always the people, um, both staff and students, and yeah, they're just really inspiring. You get to learn so much from everybody, and that's a whole experience. So yeah. Anyway, good night, and let's see how far we can take this. Bye.